Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be breaking down, not we, but it will be me, Harish, will be breaking down the latest official trailer for Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. We're going to be breaking things down a little bit differently since I don't have George or anyone else with me, but I thought why not I'll try break this trailer down solo, but do it in a kind of heavy spoilers format. If you're not familiar with heavy spoilers, he sort of gives a little bit of a recap or cliff notes of what was happening in the trailer and going through them one by one, and also giving some Easter eggs and breakdowns, while also, before we conclude the video, giving you my overall thoughts and feelings for this upcoming installment in the Ant-Man franchise. We are going to be breaking down the events of this trailer in chronological order. So of course, the trailer opens with Scott living the dream life of becoming a celebrity and being recognized by the public, except for that one old guy working at the coffee shop calling him Spider-Man.
Thank you, Spider-Man!
This actor is called Ruben Rabasa. I could be butchering that, so apologies. And he was on a sketch for Netflix's I Think You Should Leave. So just for some context in terms of the characters and where they're at so far, we learned, at least in different other properties, especially with Ms. Marvel, that Scott has now sort of become very popular. You know, it kind of juxtaposed to how he was in Endgame, where people just didn't really give two hoots on who Scott was. But now we see, especially in the trailer and in other properties like Ms. Marvel, where he has a podcast called Big Me, Little Me. That's how people, the general public, knew about the events of Endgame and Thanos and all this other shenanigans. The Comic-Con trailer that we broke down for all the announced multiverse saga projects, when we went over the description for the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania trailer, we learned that Scott is also doing a book reading for his new book called Look Out for the Little Guy as well. So it's to further proof of where the character is at. He's more or less living this celebrity life and getting the fame and recognition. But the catalyst of the story, as we've learned, is that the device Cassie activates, which was initially created as a beacon to find people in need of rescue, which ends up going haywire, pulling in the Ant-Man family from Hank, Janet, Hope, Cassie, and Scott Lang, and they are all sucked into the quantum realm yet again. I mean, if this movie, if the title Quantumania didn't already prove that further, then I don't know what else will. After we get the Marvel Studios logo, we are shown Scott and Cassie being confused by their surroundings, because this is obviously the quantum realm, of course, but we are seeing more aspects than we were before. This will be the third time we've entered the quantum realm. For this installment, they want to go big and go out with this very sci-fi retro-y kind of route, considering from what we've seen from this trailer is that the Ant-Man family is probably going to be split off into different parts of the quantum realm before they reunite. Like we see Cassie and Scott in this part of the quantum realm where there's a lot of rocks, like kind of like rock formations and whatnot, while we see Hank, Janet, and Wasp, where they seem to be in this part of the quantum realm that has coral reef-like structures and plants, basically, because coral reefs are like pretty much sea plants. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. We then see what appears to be a group of rebels in the quantum realm ganging up on Scott and Cassie. We see more shots of different parts of the quantum realm, and we see Hank, Janet, and Hope later in the trailer traveling on giant-sized stingray. Hope then asks Janet, "What are you so afraid of?" To which she replies, "There's something I never told you." This also does echo what she said earlier in the trailer before the machine pulls the whole team together, where she is very, I dare say, apprehensive, but she is really worried.
Wait a minute. You're sending a signal down to the quantum realm. Turn it off. Now!
We then get a villainous monologue from this movie's villain and this new saga's big bad Kang, saying this place isn't what you think. Furthermore, there are shots of this technological utopia with rings hovering around it. We do see one shot with rows of ships and soldiers. In addition, we get more shots gradually showing us Kang. We then get a split second of Bill Murray, who will be making his MCU debut in this movie. Giant Man and Wasp are surrounded by swarm of ships. Then we see Scott, Hope, and Janet, minus Cassie, looking at something major, as we see on the lower left hand corner of Scott and Hope that there's these red ripples of energy. We then see a shot of Scott in some kind of time loop where we see dozens of versions of Ant-Man, as there's this shot showing us a giant version of Ant-Man running but also starting to tear apart, with Kang's voiceover stating, "I can get you home and give you more time." A quick shot of Cassie and Scott running, followed by our first glimpse of Kang hovering down and looking comic book accurate as
Language.
We then get a shot of Ant-Man, Wasp, and Cassie donning her super suit with a black and purple motif. This trailer concludes with Kang confronting Scott and ominously asks him,
"So, what's it gonna be, Ant-Man?"
The song that is being played in this trailer is Goodbye Yellow Brick Road by Elton John. If you didn't already know, it was referencing Wizard of Oz, which sort of seems to be this kind of case in the story where we get at least Team Ant-Man, who is in the Dorothy role, where they eventually are in Kansas, being Earth. They get pulled in by the Quantum Realm device, which sends them into the Quantum Realm. Or in this case, Oz. Could Kang be Oz? Or is there someone else who is puppeteering this entire world behind the scenes? Who knows? But I know there's a lot of Wizard of Oz symbolism and interpretation. In one of the many glimpses before Kang's overall reveal, we see that he's standing on a yellow platform and what appears to be a seat behind him. Could this be Kang's time chair, which allows him to be able to time travel? And also we see that he places a battery, is what kickstarts his time chair perhaps. There's a lot of ring rotation to say the least in this trailer, but there is one shot, and some people have been saying, is that the rings we see in Shang-Chi and the rings we see in this Quantumania trailer share almost if not similar design language. I dare say could be true, but we don't know, since this is just early speculation. But seeing those two images side by side, I can't help but think it's not purely coincidental that they both look the same. But we'll be getting into, of course, the biggest Easter egg / breakdown, of course, is gonna have to be this movie's villain, Kang. Kang the Conqueror will be this movie's big villain, who's being played by Johnathan Majors. Since Kang's history and origin is rather complicated, considering he's a time-traveling villain who has many identities and exists throughout different points in time in the Marvel Universe, I'll cover what you need to know, being how he started out. On Earth 6311, Nathaniel Richards was born in the 30th century, a perfect utopia with nothing but peace and prosperity. He grew bored of his reality, which led him to recreating Dr. Doom's time machine in order to travel back to the past with the intention of conquering it. Hence the moniker he adopted, Kang the Conqueror. Nathaniel Richards, specifically the name Richards, doesn't that sound a lot familiar in the MCU, who we've already seen?
And the smartest man alive, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four.
Yes, that is right. Nathaniel Richards is the descendant of Mr. Fantastic. He's also the descendant of Dr. Doom. He is quite the family bloodline, to say the least. Before we get into the MCU origin of this character, I would like to recommend this content creator called Superframe. He's able to go through Kang's very complex and complicated history really well in a digestible manner to where even someone like me can understand. Before we do get into Kang's origin story in the MCU, I do want to say spoilers. If you've not seen a certain Marvel property by the name of Loki, but if you're still sticking around despite me giving you the spoiler warning, then hey, that's you. You do what you want. This will be the second time we've seen a version of the character since we met his variant in the Loki season finale. The series' big bad, going by the name of He Who Remains, we learned that he is secretly puppeteering the Time Variance Authority, or TVA to keep it short, which is a multiverse organization who is in charge of pruning, or in other words, eliminating anyone or anything from the sacred timeline, so the MCU as we know it, so that it doesn't allow for the occurrence of branched realities, which we did see in Avengers Endgame when Ancient One was explaining to Bruce Banner what could occur if you took away a said Infinity Stone from its particular timeline and what that could lead to, being a branched reality. He Who Remains and his many counterparts across the multiverse, having also achieved time travel and the discovery of parallel universes, came into contact with one another, providing their knowledge to improve their universes. However, many of his variants is a term that I know people can be confused by, but to keep it short and simple, variants are just variations of one person. So like Spider-Man No Way Home. We have Tom Holland, who's our main MCU Spider-Man, who is Peter Parker, and he is Spider-Man. But we have two variants who are played by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, who both share the same name, who are both Spider-Man, but exist in different universes. That does not help, then I don't know what does. Many of his other variants, upon discovering the existence of parallel universes, chose to want to conquer it, thus leading to a multiversal war to see which reality prevails. Through this war, He Who Remains discovered a creature called Alioth, who could consume time and space, weaponizing it as a means to put an end to the multiversal war. Hence the creation of the TVA. In the finale, Loki and Sylvie find him residing at the Citadel at the end of time, which is a castle carved out of solid asteroid with the sacred timeline encompassing it. They enter further into the ominous place to find He Who Remains, who offers them a choice.
You kill me and the sacred timeline is completely exposed, multiversal war, or you take over
And return to the TVA as its benevolent rulers. Tell the workforce who they are and why they do what they do.
Sylvie kills He Who Remains because we learned that earlier in this series that since she was a kid, the TVA took her away from her timeline. Although we don't know the definite reason as to why the TVA abducted her, she was able to escape from the TVA, and ever since then she's been on the run. So Sylvie, seeing the person that took her life away, gives her kind of a reason to go and kill the guy. Because of Sylvie killing He Who Remains, this causes the sacred timeline to go into disarray, leading to branches upon branches of timelines starting to intertwine with one another, which births not only the multiverse, but starts yet another multiversal war with He Who Remains and his other variants. We also see Bill Murray in this trailer, who's playing a character in Marvel Comics called Krylar, who comes from the Microverse and appeared in a handful of panels in Incredible Hulk issue 156. The character of Cassie Lang we see in this trailer, Cassie Lang being Ant-Man's daughter, has now been recasted and played by the actress Catherine Newton. Before this happened, we saw Cassie Lang in Endgame, but played by a different actress by the name of Emma Furman. As for the reasoning of this recast, I do not know. In terms of who she's playing, or who is Cassie now, in terms of Cassie Lang's comic book origins, she goes by several nicknames, but she was well known by one of two names, as Stature, who is pretty much identical to like Ant-Man. She possesses the ability to grow extraordinarily large through her exposure of the Pym particles. Additionally, she's also taken up the role of Stinger, which in terms of her costume and abilities are identical to the character of the Wasp. From this trailer, we see that Cassie's suit is leaning more towards the character of Stinger, as you can see both Wasp, played by Evageline Lilly, and Cassie, played by Catherine Newton, both their suits share the same design language minus a few exceptions. As for my overall thoughts on this trailer, I'm truly excited for this installment of the Ant-Man series. I love the first one a lot. The second one is one of my least favorite movies in the MCU. The visuals reminded me a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where it had very stunning and colorful imagery, which is showing us more of the quantum realm that we have yet to be explored. In addition, this trailer does a fine balance between the fun, lighthearted comedy we've grown accustomed to in these series of movies and also in the MCU, while also bringing this kind of grit and seriousness unlike previous installments, as this movie is bringing in Kang, who is going to be this phase's new big bad. The potential of this movie is what's got me intrigued, and hopefully bringing back and restoring the faith in fans that now the MCU is officially going somewhere. And that about wraps up this video. I just want to say thank you guys a lot for watching. Please like and subscribe, as that shows your support to the channel. Till then, see you guys on the next one.